So 80% of all breast cancers are hormone driven. Between 5 and 10%, maybe even closer to 5%, are actually genetic.
Wow. Okay.
So that's the statistic that you can, run with that and know that a lot of it is, which I know we'll get into, is lifestyle and what you choose to do and what's going on with your body.
Hey there, hot messes. Welcome to Success of a Hot Mess, where we celebrate the art of juggling life's chaos and coming out on top. I'm Stacey Isaacs, your host and resident rock star lawyer, dance mom, and survivor. We're going to dive into candid conversations about conquering challenges, embracing our unique selves, and finding success in the beautiful mess of it all. Hey, hot messers. Today on the podcast, I have the pleasure of talking to one of my college roommates and longtime friends, Christina Wilson. Welcome to the show, Christina.
Thank you so much for having me.
You got it. So Christina is actually very interesting. She is a true entrepreneur, owning several businesses, but also the best-selling author of Chest Confessions, which I have a copy of here. The book talks about your journey with breast cancer. And I know that you recently launched your own podcast. What's it called?
Healthy Truth Exposed.
Healthy Truth Exposed. And this is really what I want to focus on today. I know you and I have both had weird misdiagnoses, and
Yes.
this is a subject that I really am passionate about, and I can tell you are, because your entire podcast is devoted to it. But it's just when conventional medicine basically fails you. So can you talk a little bit about your breast cancer journey?
Sure. So initially, and I think we share that also, initially when I was 30 years old, I felt a lump in my left breast, and I did get it checked out, and I had an ultrasound. This was 19 years ago, so at the time it wasn't as mainstream to do a mammogram also on young people.
Yeah.
Young people weren't getting it as much. So, I knew something was wrong, and that's really my whole cause. Everything I write about is being your own health advocate, regardless of what you're told, by doctors or anyone else. So I felt a lump. They did an ultrasound. They said it was nothing. Cut to a year and a half later. I was only 30 at the time. A year and a half later, I still had the bump, and I had another little bump, and I knew something was so wrong. And I got another ultrasound and really kind of got dismissed by the second opinion I had as well, which is an important point. Also, always get a second and third opinion, because people read things differently. Doctors, read scans differently.
And was all of this transpiring in Florida or New York?
It was in Florida. So it was when I was living in Florida. So I was 32, knew something was wrong. I could just tell, even though they were telling me that there was nothing there on the ultrasound. And then I went to another radiologist, and he said, look, if you still have this bump under your arm, then I'm going to tell you to go get a breast MRI. Call me in 6 months. So within 2 months, I was like, forget it. I'm doing this. And the breast MRI, sure enough, it was cancer that had progressed into my lymph node. That's what the second one was. Had it been a year and a half before, it was still only in stage 1. And that's the biggest thing, is making sure, of course, you get it as soon as possible, because it's a whole different ballgame when it moves and when it goes into the lymph nodes,
Right. And it actually was stage 3 by the time?
It was the later stages of 2, but then we'll get to that as we talk more. But then it did become stage 3 again. So a lot of the journey, the short of it, was having chemotherapy right away, just following what the doctors were saying immediately, that it was an emergency to do that, to having a double mastectomy, which we'll touch on that later too. But again, somehow it's put in patients' minds that that's going to make sure that you don't have a recurrence, and that's not the truth. And there's actually no data on that. So young women, as myself, made that decision based on data that was not correct, right? That there's just throwing statistics out at you and scaring you to death. And that was a life-changing move, and I still did get 2 recurrences back. This is before I changed my whole lifestyle. So to know that...
2 recurrences?
Yes. to know that I went ahead and did that, and it's really hard on you mentally and physically.
It's drastic.
It's drastic. They promise you that it's going to look great and you'll have implants, and it doesn't. It's a train wreck. It took me 8 years to make it look decent. So the whole point also health-wise, of course, the recurrence.
I actually didn't know you couldn't have a recurrence when you have the double mastectomy. I thought removal of the breast tissue
exactly
eliminates. So that is a myth.
It's a myth.
Wow.
It's
so
a myth.
What, and I know this is all in your book, Chest Confessions, but how long after did you have the first recurrence?
The first recurrence I had, it was within a year and a half.
And how did you discover that?
Bump. Same thing. Just I could feel a bump.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Did you have any history in your family of breast cancer?
I didn't have any family history. My mom had it when she was 65, but she did get it from being on the hormone replacement therapy
menopause.
From that, exactly. So, but there was no one else in the family, and same thing. Hers was estrogen driven. So 80% of all breast cancers are hormone driven. Between 5 and 10%, maybe even closer to 5%, are actually genetic.
Wow. Okay.
So that's the statistic that you can, run with that and know that a lot of it is, which I know we'll get into, is lifestyle and what you choose to do and what's going on with your body.
So what did the conventional doctors, what was the protocol when you had the recurrence? What did they want you to do?
When I had the recurrence, they wanted to give me chemotherapy again. They wanted me to do radiation, which I was completely against the first time as well, because I did have a complete clinical response to the chemotherapy, so meaning there was nothing in the pathology. So I felt secure about that. It was just about the time, a year and a half, I was still in that fear zone from having it initially, and I was very young. And once I got the recurrence, and I just knew I had to change something else and just not listen to every fact that was being given to me, because, right, I had the whole surgery, then it's coming back, then they want to give me chemotherapy again. So I was like, absolutely not. Cut out just that lymph node that's positive right now, and I'll just deal with it. I'm going to change my whole lifestyle. And this is, again, that was only 2007, before we had social media and before we really, and I just started reading everything and doing research and digging everywhere, anything I could get my hands on that was how to heal your body and see how the physiology works and the biology works and what it did. And that's when I changed and started the lifestyle to try and I didn't do anything else. I just had it cut out.
And you had another recurrence after you changed your lifestyle?
So I didn't. So I started, this is what happened. I changed my whole lifestyle. Everything, I felt great also. Felt better than I had in years, energy-wise, and I felt like I really detoxed everything.
How else did you completely change your lifestyle?
So really nutrition, diet, and really the stress level and thought process, right? So when you get out of that fear zone and you're not in fight or flight anymore, right? That also, because remember, when you're in fight or flight, your cortisol is through the roof. Your insulin goes through the roof. And when you're in a constant cortisol pumping through you, that's not good for your body. That's not good for your hormones. We're all guilty of it, of course. We have stress every day. But when you can really get out of the fear zone and get in a place that you're actually empowered, knowing that you have control over your own health, and to say, okay, I'm going to eat this and I'm going to, have this kind of nutrition. And the biggest part of the nutrition thing is everyone works differently, right? What's good for me is poison for you. So you find all those things that really work for you. And I did, I don't know who wants to hear this, but I did, certain colon hydrotherapy, and I did, the dry brushing, and I did, trampoline, which I still do.
I do remember speaking to you after they after they had recommended all the chemo and all that, and you were like, I'm not doing it, and you successfully shrunk your tumor.
Yes, I did. So I successfully shrunk the tumor by, I did refuse chemotherapy. I kept continuing exactly what I was doing in terms of my nutrition protocol. And I started hyperbaric oxygen. Remember, we talked about that back then, because the research I did was, cancer cells they can't thrive in an oxygenated atmosphere.
Right.
So I started doing medical grade hyperbaric oxygen, like these big oxygen, it's called a dive, and you're in there and you're encapsulated. It's like what people do when they have carbon monoxide poisoning.
Is it bad for claustrophobic people?
No, they're like see-through tubes, actually. So so that's what I did for that. And the tumor, within 2 weeks, and my oncologist was floored, but she knows it was true, shrunk 30% in 2 weeks, like those nodules that I had against the implant. So very soon after that, I had the implants taken out, and I was flat, like a 8-year-old basically, but I was free of the discomfort, and that's it. The implants, were gone.
But how was that on you mentally, self-esteem?
It was really tough. I had just gotten separated from my husband. The health part of it really did take a toll on our relationship, for sure. Actually, not to the point that he wasn't supportive, but I was so uncomfortable with my body that I just wasn't happy. So it was a very hard thing to deal with. But when I did have them out, I felt relieved, and I felt like this was definitely going to help my health going forward. And then there's a lot of other protocols, which even, I went a further step that we can get into. But so 2 years, I had nothing at all. And it was my choice to just kind of be alone, not date, get healthy. I had an infrared sauna in my house. I sat in that as well, and I continued the oxygen, and it was great. It was life-changing.
I just heard one of these breast implant illness experts, a surgeon who does explants, talking about saunas.
Yeah.
And he said, would you drink a steaming hot plastic water bottle? Because if you wouldn't,
Right.
That's what you're doing if you have implants and you're sitting in a sauna. They're
If
leaking.
you have implants.
Yeah,
Exactly.
They're leaking. So he said you should really avoid
Correct.
saunas.
So I sat in it after they were out.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you got implants, right?
Then I did. So after 2 years, I decided to have the reconstruction, very, very small ones also, as small as possible. And again, I did the research trying to, choose the correct ones. And I do still have them in. I am having them removed.
You are.
I am,
You
for
feel
health.
they're making you sick.
So this was, that's a whole other issue, right? So when I had them put in, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. Like within a month, I had these weird rashes all over me. And I also started having these migraines that I never had in my life, like ever.
I was going to tell you that's what I'm going through. And
Okay.
they cannot find a medical reason.
Correct.
On the MRIs, nothing.
Yeah. It's probably the chemicals in the implants in your body, because remember, it's a foreign substance put in. Your body doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, it's just like, why after 8 years now, but my understanding is it can come at any time. And I have had a lot of friends in the past 2 years have implants removed. But we're in South Florida. It's like the surgeons are still busy putting them in.
Of course. And it's tough. I mean, look, it's a really tough decision. On one hand, of course, I'm a normal person. Like, I want to look good as well. And feminine, right. And it's a big piece of you. But at the same time, that's my personal decision. I think it's best for my health in the long run. And I'm actually excited to get them out to see also if, number one, my migraines have subsided substantially. And that's because of even a step further I went, in terms of a true anti-inflammatory diet. So that is because, though, these food sensitivities that I got were within 2 months of getting the new implants in. So again, what it triggered was food sensitivity, migraines, and these rashes that were all over me. Inflammatory, exactly. So, with that said, then I had to switch to this anti-inflammatory diet that doesn't have, it's not your traditional one that people would know about. You have to stay away from histamines, oxalates, lectins, which, most people don't even know what those are. But if you look them up, it's chemicals that plants make actually to defend themselves. That's part of what it is. And histamines, I think everyone has heard of. You think of a histamine being an allergic reaction, like hay fever or something like that. But it's not just that. It's your body reacting to any substance that comes in that is too high in a histamine count. So, I think what happened with me is the breast implants caused my DAO enzyme to decrease. DAO is what neutralizes histamines in someone's body. So I became more sensitive to that, whereas before I had this set of implants in, and by the way, I was also told by my plastic surgeon that the ones I have in are being recalled. So
which ones do you have?
These are the 410 cohesive allergan, and they're being recalled for causing cancer.
Oh my gosh. I remember when I got mine, I had to sign something, and it was about textured implants.
Yeah. Yes, these are the textured.
You have textured.
Yeah.
And I understand that you took your passion for all of this health specific to the breast cancer stuff, and are you coaching women who are going through it?
I am. So I'm consulting, I'm coaching. Usually the calls that I get, and how it really spun into it also is I would have like a friend of a friend or something like that say, oh my God, my friend was just diagnosed, can you help her? Can you talk to her? And that's what I would do. And it was just so time consuming, and I wanted to help people, that I had to turn it into a consulting as well.
I wish they had some sort of consultant. I mean,
Yes.
I didn't have breast cancer, but I had cancer, and the mindset is so important when you have that fear, like you said, the fight or flight. I wish they had such a service back then. I think I did speak to you, but our cases were just so
Our cases were different. Exactly. But I wish I had someone like me available back then, and also just to guide someone through and say, look, this is what's going to be given to you as a regular protocol. You have the right to make a different decision. You have the right to say, okay, maybe I will try some chemotherapy, see if it agrees with me, and I won't do radiation, that type of thing. Radiation, that other time, the last time I did do, and that changed my physiology as well. And they don't tell you also it's going to affect all your teeth and your calcium levels. It's just having the knowledge, I think, and that's the best thing where I come in. And when someone first contacts me, I'm like, first of all, you're going to be okay. Just know that. And people need to hear that, like I needed to hear that. And just know that your health is in your own hands, in the sense that you can make these decisions. You can have so many shifts that your body really does want to heal itself, and you eliminate all these toxins on a daily basis. And there's great things you can do. Just people need the discipline to do it. It's a lot of work. I know it's a lot of work.
So much more, about the specific foods. I know very basic things, eliminate plastics and as many microtoxins as you can, but that's the extent of my knowledge. And I did what they told me to do, which was honestly my markers. I was cancer-free after they cut the tumor out, but I still had the chemo like they told me, just in case.
Yes.
They said it was...
That's what they say, just in case. Me too.
And you do what you say, and I still credit them for saving my life, just at least the surgeon, because it was a very rare...
Yes, yours was a different situation. And you did the right thing.
Yes, but what would you say? Look at Shannon Doherty. What are your thoughts on, I believe she did everything they told her to do, and she passed away young.
Right. Well, that's part of, and I feel like when like we're having this conversation when I speak to people, I have the right to have an opinion about this because I have gone through all of these. Like some people say, oh, you're so healthy, and you believe in holistic healing. And well, no, I had all the conventional treatments and it obviously didn't work, right?
It came right back.
It came right back, and then it came back again. So if that happens, you have to shift and change. And these treatments are very toxic, as we know, and can cause secondary cancers. Actually, the first time after the first round of chemo I did, for the first time that I had it, I got a melanoma on my leg. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was definitely the toxicity coming out on my skin. And even my plastic surgeon said that. She's like, yeah, it's totally from the drugs.
Well, I remember my oncologist at Sloan Kettering said, this chemo we're going to do, like, there's a small chance it could cause leukemia. I was like, this is unbelievable.
Right, exactly. I mean, but the minute your ears hear that, then you start buzzing. You're like, wait, what? Like, I'm going to, take this. So again, I'm someone that's probably in the middle. I have taken all the conventional. It has worked, but then things come back, and then you maybe do it again and it does go away. But if you fix the source, right, and that's what my whole program is about and what I help people along. And again, I just pass on the information. I'm not just saying, do this, do that, but I'm saying, look what worked for me.
Right.
I got stage 3 cancer back again, and I came back from it 3 times. And, I guess people need to listen to the people that are alive and well.
Right.
Right? Not the people that are, keeled over, and because changing something is the only way that it's going to work, that you can get yourself back to health.
So if someone is in the unfortunate position that they got a diagnosis and they're scared and they want your services, how can they find you?
They can find me. They can reach out directly to me on Instagram. I'm Christina Wilson, NYC, and they can always reach me through my website, which is healthylifestyleconsultant.com. And I put together daily protocols, and I don't just give someone and say, here, do this. Like, I literally have, pages and pages of exactly what you need to do on a daily basis and stick to it.
So would your services be valuable to someone who doesn't have cancer but just wants a more anti-inflammatory?
Yes, it will, because it's preventative. It's preventative. It's getting rid of a lot of these, toxins, even vitamins and minerals that people take. That's the one thing that I tend to see, that without any knowledge, people just say, oh, someone told me this was good to take. Well, that could be poison for your body. Like, you have no idea, so that's one of my biggest issues too. And I have them do an oat test, a Dutch test, which literally oat test means organic acids test. And it tells you exactly what's going on. Every single vitamin, mineral, bacteria, viruses, like what's happening. So then you can address it and you say, okay, this is what's going on. Oh, by the way, I am depleted in Bs, so I'm going to do this. But a blood test for that never works. It's never accurate.
So where do they go for the oat test?
So that's a functional medicine doctor. And, of course, I have several that I work with meaning myself, for my own health I've worked with. And, I really think they're great. They're not too aggressive either with supplementation to fix people, because a lot of the times that's what happens. Just a bunch of supplements get thrown at someone, and that's not good either. So, again, I've been through it all, like literally, so I'm there to guide someone into optimal health.
I love it. I think there's a real need for what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I obviously know what inspired you, but a lot of people might not know that you're also a business owner. I mean, multiple businesses, a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your businesses.
So I've been a realtor for 23 years in Florida and in New York, both. I've worked for many developers. So.
And you're born and raised in New York City.
Born and raised in New York City. And so I do have, with a dear friend of mine from high school, we have a men's accessories company as well called Well Suited NYC. and we launched that together in 2017, and it's pre-folded pocket squares, so men don't have to, fold them themselves, but we've done really well. We've actually, we're really excited where it's going, so, and that's fun.
And who came up with that idea, the pre-folded?
So Amanda, my partner, is a stylist, and she used to style, or still does, style a lot of men and comedians. Like Chris Rock is one of her clients forever, for like 20-something years. And when they were going on a show, the pocket square was so lumpy in the pocket, or people don't know. So anyway, it was pre-folded, but they're higher end. It's not like a prom store that it's on a piece of cardboard and like cut off,
Right.
So they're great products.
I think it's great. It's like I say, necessity is the mother of invention. She saw a need for it. And I know you did have the handbag line. I don't know if that's still...
I did. In between, before I was a real estate agent, when I was in my early 20s, I worked for Calvin Klein Corporate and learned product development and loved doing that. So I had a handbag company for about 10 years, and it was great. Then Amanda and I kind of came up with this, so that took the back burner, and we did this together. And she knew I had the entrepreneurial, able to do the marketing and really launch the company, and it's fun.
Do you have another book coming?
Not yet. I'm in the process. I am in the process, and that'll be, another level to the first one. But the first one is very informative, Chest Confessions. So someone who, even people that are not going through cancer, or just, I got so many emails and texts from people going, I learned so much. I'm so glad I know this now for my daughter. And it goes for any cancer.
Yeah, and my understanding is you donated proceeds to breast cancer patients.
Yes,
from the
I
book.
did.
That's awesome.
So certain people that needed alternative treatments that were really going to help them, because that stuff does get very pricey. So that's what I wanted to do, is have people be able to go to a practitioner or take one of these special tests that's not covered by insurance, because it'll really help them. It'll help them get to the source, and they were determined, and it worked.
I love what you're doing, and you're just an all-around good human.
Thank you.
We will talk at another time all about the breast implant illness, because we're out of time. But thank you so much. And anyone that wants to reach Christina, she told you can reach her on Instagram. She'll get back to you. And I'm wishing you much success with the consulting business.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Love
Christina.
talking to you.
You too. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Success of a Hot Mess. If you loved what you heard today, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a beat. And hey, sharing is caring. Share this podcast with your friends, family, and anyone who could use a dose of inspiration. Until next time, keep rocking those hot mess moments with style and grace. Cheers.